This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, Heather, ho there, it's Jeff Cutter, and welcome you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, April 24th, 2004, one of the biggest spurns by a number one NFL pick happened. Yes, we know about John Elway, but this happened 21 years later. In 2004, so it's been 17 years since Eli Manning spurned the city of San Diego to do something else. Eli Manning was his prime quarterback at Ole Miss. He, of course, had a lot of baggage because his father, Archie, was a star at Ole Miss before going on to play for the New Orleans Saints prominently and a few other teams. And also his older brother, Peyton, just graduated from the University of Tennessee and has played some years for the Indianapolis Colts. Not getting to the Super Bowl, but, at least be a good quarterback. So Eli had a lot to carry for Ole Miss. He went to his father's alma mater. Ole Miss was not that good, but, he was okay. He was a decent player. And, the 2004 NFL draft was crazy enough as is. So when we look at the 2004 NFL draft, we have to look for a few things. And the draft was the 24th and 25th of 2004, of course. There was no supplemental draft players, which was weird. So anyway, the draft actually set a lot of records, including the most wide receivers in the first round with 7, most trades in the first round with 28 trades among teams. The University of Miami set a record for first rounders drafted with 6. Ohio State set a record for having 14 different players through all the rounds. And this draft also has a few other records. The shortest time between having multiple quarterbacks being drafted and starting for Super Bowl winners, Ben Roethlisberger and Eli Manning. And it's the first draft ever to produce 2 quarterbacks to win multiple Super Bowls, Roethlisberger and Eli. Wow. So anyway, the San Diego Chargers had the first pick in the draft, and they wanted a quarterback, and they figured that Eli Manning would be the answer. Doug Flutie was just not good enough, and of course this was a few years after Ryan Leaf was blown out of town, pun intended. So anyway, the Chargers drafted this guy, and they thought he was going to be good. And he would be. But Eli was not too happy with going to San Diego. I mean, after all, San Diego's kind of a boring town and all that. But anyway, other than Eli, when you look at the Pro Bowls, when you look at the first round, it's decent and all that. I know Oakland made a dumb move with the second overall pick and took Robert Gallery, an offensive tackle. I mean, like, Robert Gallery? Really? Well, they wanted to show up. He wasn't a Pro Bowler. He should have been. But anyway. Arizona hit the jackpot with Larry Fitzgerald being a good wide receiver from the University of Pittsburgh. And he's still in the league, I think. Larry legend. Phillip Rivers was picked 4th by the New York Giants from NC State. He was a good quarterback. NC State was a decent school. Sean Taylor was drafted 5th from Washington. From the University of Miami to Washington. Of course, we know he was one of the best defensive players, but then, of course, he got shot and killed years later. Kellen Winslow Jr. was drafted by Cleveland, a tight end from the Miami Hurricanes, but he became more of a headache than anything else. Detroit picked up Roy Williams from the University of Texas, wide receiver, and it didn't work out that well. Atlanta picked up D'Angelo Hall, cornerback from Virginia Tech, pretty good. Jacksonville and Houston made some dumb picks themselves before Pittsburgh got Ben Roethlisberger and the Jets got Jonathan Vilma. So anyway, I digress. So Eli wasn't happy. San Diego wasn't pleased too. So they decided to make a move. They decided to trade their quarterback for New York quarterback. So the Giants and Chargers switched quarterbacks. Phillip Rivers would go from the Giants to the Chargers, and Eli would go from the Chargers to the Giants. Basically, weird pick. Eli got massively booed. After all, He was the number 1 pick, and he was unhappy being drafted by them. So anyway, Eli actually worked his way up. This was after Kerry Collins and after Kurt Warner, but the Giants needed a quarterback. And they went with Eli. He wasn't that bad in the beginning. He was more prone to throwing interceptions and touchdowns. But when it counted the most, Eli put up 2 great seasons, 2 Super Bowl titles. The 2007-08 New York Giants were 9-7. They were picked to brutally lose to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the wildcard round. No, they didn't. Then they were forced to play the Dallas Cowboys, the powerful 13-3 Dallas Cowboys, with Tony Romo and Terrell Owens actually working in harmony. What happened? The Giants were picked to get blown out. Poof, they win the game by a touchdown. Terrell Owens defended his quarterback, who was seen in Mexico with his girlfriend at the time, Jessica Simpson. Say, that's my teammate, that's my quarterback. Was he really crying, or was it just crocodile tears? So anyway, the Giants went to the NFC title game against the Green Bay Packers. Eli went to face Brett Favre, who was an icon. Earlier in the day, my beloved New England Patriots won the AFC title game. So that meant Brady would be facing either Eli or Brett Favre. It would have been nice to see a Brady Favre Super Bowl. But in the end, the Packers screwed themselves over. Despite the fact that Lawrence Tynes, former CFL kicker, if you must know, missed a key field goal to win the game in regulation for the Giants. The Packers then, in overtime, screwed up. Well, Brett Favre, his notorious streak of screwing up, happened. So anyway, he screwed up, and then Tynes got another chance. Field goal good. All right, so the Pats will face the Giants. The Pats were 16-0, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, the Pats are going to take the Super Bowl. And then stupid Paul Zimmerman, a.k.a. Dr. Said, he basically picked apart the Patriots and said, this is what the Giants need to do. I swear the Giants bought extra copies of Sports Illustrated and played that to perfection. That's why I never read Sports Illustrated to this day. Like, fuck Paul Zimmerman. Fuck them all. But anyway, I digress. So anyway, Eli and the Giants took care of the Pats in the Super Bowl, obviously. Super Bowl 42, 17-14. I mean, the Pats should have done better. I mean, I will give Eli a lot of credit for his tackle-evading play in the fourth quarter that basically he was nearly getting sacked and the referee almost blew his whistle because no forward momentum. But Eli got out of it and then threw a high pass to David Tyree, who, if it wasn't for him using his helmet as a prop, basically to prop the ball against his head so that Ronnie Harrison didn't grab it for the Pats, then that would have just been a cool play, but it would have been all for nothing. I mean, the Pats just lost momentum. I mean, they could have stopped Classical Burst from getting in the end zone. Fuck. So anyway, Eli Manning was a great quarterback. But unfortunately, the Giants just couldn't gel. I mean, it seemed that Eli was kind of mediocre at times. He would throw for good yardage, but his interception numbers were pathetic. Very pathetic. So anyway, Eli basically did okay. And then the 2011-12 Giants came through and got to the Super Bowl. And yes, I did pick the Giants to beat the Packers in the divisional round, even though the Packers were 15-1, because I'm like, the Giants have done it to Green Bay in the past. I have a funny feeling they're going to do it again. So I went with that, and I was right somehow. Giants then would use a couple of San Francisco returning special teams mistakes to win the game in overtime and face the Pats again in the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, though, the Pats didn't learn their lesson, even though they had a Hail Mary almost come close. The Pats ended up losing the Super Bowl. That Super Bowl, Super Bowl 46, I can watch without guilt. Super Bowl 42, I can't watch. All that. Funny thing about Eli Manning is that my buddy from Blue Shirt Underground Radio, Jim Schmaderberg, basically decides to, I made a bet with him saying that basically if the Giants win the Super Bowl against the Pats, I will refrain from being on Blue Shirt Underground for 1 month. Like, for February, I'll just stay away from BSU. Jim's like, no, I don't want you kicking yourself out for a dumb reason. So we basically worked it out that if the Patriots, I don't know what would have happened if if the Patriots had beaten the Giants. I don't know what the part of the bet was. But anyway, he said that if the Giants win, you're going to have to post a picture of the Super Bowl MVP, whoever that is, on your profile for 1 week, or Facebook profile for 1 week. So, of course, the Giants won, and I found a picture of Eli. I think it was the 2008 picture of Eli, but Jim took it as is. And basically, on the Blue Shirt Underground show on the Wednesday, he talks about how there were a few New York Ranger players who were from like the Massachusetts area who were bitching about the Super Bowl. And then he goes and says that, okay, they say that, but Cutter, on his show, because I used to have a podcast at that time, which was not popular by any stretch of the means. So anyway, what I decided to do, and then he says, well, Cutter made this bet. And I said, well, don't leave BSU for the month. And I said, let's just say that if the Giants win, you have to post the winner of the Super Bowl MVP on your profile for a week. I think that was the bet if the Patriots won too. And so the Giants won. And you know what? I don't know the exact quote, but it's on the Monday. And I don't know. He didn't whine. He didn't complain. He just did it. So props to Cutsy for that. So yeah, I remember that. So Jim's giving me props that I actually honored the bet. And I had to honor the bet. But anyway, Eli would be a decent quarterback. I don't think he's the best quarterback in Giants history. Phil Simms, I think in my mind, is better than Eli. But anyway, Eli kind of seemed like a bitch for leaving San Diego for the Giants. However, the story actually has a happy ending if you're a San Diego Charger fan. Because Phillip Rivers actually was a very decent quarterback. I know he had to sit for a few years waiting for Drew Brees. Being back up to Drew Brees. But Brees got injured. Rivers came in and basically did well enough that the Chargers got rid of Drew Brees in free agency. But a happy ending, too. Drew Brees went to the Saints and basically has been one of the best quarterbacks in Saints history. The best quarterback in Saints history. Sorry, Archie Manning. But anyway, yeah, Phillip Rivers did well. Heck, he played one AFC title game against the Pats on a freaking torn ACL. That's hard to do. It's hard to walk on a torn ACL as a human, but that was a gutsy effort. I would give him props for that, even though the Pats beat the Chargers. But Phillip Rivers was just an icon. And then he went to the Colts this year and did pretty well. But the LA Chargers did well too. Justin Herbert looks like a good quarterback. And I think he will be a good quarterback. But the Chargers just suck as a team. No chemistry. So anyway, it all worked out for the end. We all know about the Elway thing, that it didn't end up working for the Baltimore Colts. But hey, Eli spurned San Diego for Gotham, and it actually worked out because San Diego got Phillip Rivers, and he became a very good quarterback. Can't blame Eli there. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond.